This is Manchester Voices, a podcast run by students at the University of Manchester. We'll be talking all things uni, from how to research your options and choose where to go, to student life and study tips, and exploring the amazing city we live in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Manchester Voices. We have 3 students with us today. My name is Madi, and I am a second-year drama and film student. And my fun fact about Manchester is that the atom was first split right here at the University of Manchester.
I'm Grace, and I'm a pharmacology student in first year. And my fun fact is that there are over 200 languages spoken in Manchester.
Hi, I'm Georgia. I'm a second year sociology student, and my fun fact is that Manchester's got one of the oldest libraries in the UK. It was founded in 1653.
Awesome. Today's topic is about revising, studying. How do you best revise? What are your initial tips?
And I think people underestimate the power of going with somebody and revising. I like having somebody there to just bounce off. We don't even need to talk, but it's having somebody there with me. And it's an hour. I set an hour timer and I think, how much can I get done in this hour?
Mm-hmm.
And then I keep on going and going. And by the time's gone, 4 hours have already gone.
Yeah.
And I like to listen to music I don't always listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So I dedicate like an album of someone that I like, but I wouldn't really go out of my way. And I just sit and just listen to it on like a low volume, because I find if I listen to music that I like, after a bit, I will start like bopping to it. And
Absolutely.
Then I'm a bit distracted and I'm like, oh, I'm not really doing my work anymore. So I think that helps
Yeah.
me with actually getting my work out and revising and sitting down, getting the work done.
100%. There's also, I've seen it and I've tried it before, but like listening to either movie soundtracks or video game music, because those are like designed to make you like focus in on what you're watching or doing. Especially like I think like the Mario Kart like soundtrack is supposed to be really good for people to like just sit and study to, and I will not lie, I have tried it.
I'm gonna
And
have to give it a go.
it really worked for me. It's an odd one, but it does work. So that's just gonna throw that in there on the topic of music. Any other tips?
I think, just not making it solely you sitting in your room and just doing hours and hours and hours in one go and leaving it all to the last minute. Like I do it with my friends, so that even if we're not talking in that hour, you just look up and you have like a little laugh, and then you just get back to it, and it's just making it not hell for you.
Yeah.
Like setting some boundaries for yourself and knowing that, after this I'm going to go to the gym, or I'm going to go out, I'm going to cook a nice meal, like something like that, so you can look forward to something to break up your revision and things like that.
I definitely think that's true. And I mean, I'm not the best example of this, because I love to cram. I love doing it like in a very short amount of time. And this is, again, like, I think I'm very much motivated by fear of like wanting to get it out, wanting to do as much as possible. And I don't know about you, but I have DAS, so it's the Disability and Disability Support Service here. So you'll get like the special services. I haven't utilized those, but I do get like a 1-week extension on most of my essays. And it's awesome. The only issue is that if you do have DAS, you then, especially from like the winter term, you don't have a break, which is something that I didn't realize. Like all of my essays were due in the last week, and then I had 2 days before the term started up again. So definitely keeping that like discipline of like having a schedule and then having to follow it, I think is one of the things that work best for me. Even though it is very hard, I just have to continue to like force myself to sit down and work. And I usually, chocolate. Like if I like finish writing a page, I'm like, great, I can have some chocolate now. I think that's generally kind of how I work.
Yeah.
Lots of chocolate. Well, I have ADHD, which, I think is a superpower, but it also is awful because you don't have that, like, the motivation center in your brain. I don't have that. So it takes a while for me to start revising or doing anything. So I think kind of the biggest thing is just you have to have discipline. And I think that's for any student. You do just have to have a lot of discipline of getting up and going and doing things. But I think it can be a very hard thing. So I always just try and motivate myself in external factors. If I do this, I can get good grades, and then I'll treat myself.
Yeah.
I'll buy myself a little snack after studying.
That's what I do as well. I have ADHD too, so I kind of find that if I motivate myself with other people as well, so like my flatmates, sometimes even if we're at home, we would like FaceTime and do FaceTime studies so that we're both on our phone and we can hold each other accountable for doing the work for a certain amount of time, like an hour or something like that, or going to the library with someone and then saying we're going to do an hour and then we can have a break or go and get a snack or something like that, just so I can have specific focus time, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I'm similar in the sense of like I reward myself. So if I do X, Y, Z, I might buy myself clothes though.
Ooh.
Or after this essay, I'll buy myself the jacket that I really wanted for
Yeah.
ages. But I like to be organised. I think life can get busy for uni students and anything can happen, and it's the self-discipline there. It's like you still have your personal life as much as you have to do uni, and it's being organised. I do like to like write my to-do lists and have your assessment dates and know what's coming.
Yeah.
To be organised, I think that helps me a lot, so I can oversee like, oh, I've got this essay due in a week, I need to buckle up and look at my notes now.
Absolutely. And I think in terms, I don't know how your programs work, but ours are pretty, like, you kind of know what's going to come up on each week. Like, each week you have a test topic, essentially, or an essay topic. So I think very early on in the semester, I'll go through and pick, this is a life hack, I pick, like, the week that I know I'm going to be interested in, and then I make sure to go to everything and do, like, all the extra work for that and keep really good notes. So, like, when revising period does start, I have, like, really strict kind of notes already set up, which helps, I think, especially with like ADHD, because doing everything in one weekend is not always the best way to do it. And it kind of is just like that built up over time that I think professors are looking for in essays at least. Yeah, and what you were saying like about the body doubling of having that other person there with you, so helpful. I absolutely agree. Okay, I guess in general, do you have any revision or study tips that have really benefited you guys?
I don't think it's the other person.
Kind of flowing into the next question is this, how do you motivate yourself, especially after maybe possibly a long semester?
I think I recently started this semester because I did have my first uni exams.
Yeah.
After that, I was like, okay, for this one, I'm going to try and do something a bit different, whereas like, I'm going to start doing a bit more work throughout the semester so I don't leave it all to last minute, because I did do a bit of that.
Yeah.
So I kind of gave myself goals. If I did this amount of revision and like started going to the gym and doing all of these things that would make it easier for me in the long run to revise, that I would give myself a reward. So me and my friend were going to go out and go for brunch at these places, and like if we kept meeting the milestones, so we kind of had that between each other that we were motivating each other to do.
Yeah.
I'm a DAS registered student as well, and I know exactly what you mean by you do something and you've got that deadline or you've got an extra week, so that plays on your mind and it makes you on a continuum. You just think, oh, when am I going to get a break? Because you're on a continuum. And in terms of like motivating myself, I'll be honest, I've got a condition that sometimes lacks my motivation, and then I'll get myself in a rut and I'll just think, oh, how am I going to do this work? I'm not going to do this work. And all I think to myself, it genuinely is, it's self-discipline and it's the sense of moderation.
Yeah.
Like what Grace just said, is you're having little things in place every week, what I do every week for myself, depending on your motivation, to just keep yourself going. Because at the end of the day, sitting in your room, doing loads and loads and loads of work, reading, doing everything all in one go isn't good. But at the same time, not doing any work isn't good. It's finding that middle ground of moderation, because you need to get yourself into a routine of go and do some work and then go and have some fun at the same time, but you need to do your work.
Absolutely.
And it's finding that you need to do your work in order to have a moderated life, because I think mental health wise it affects people. Doing too much and doing too little, each end of the spectrum is not good for you. You have to find that middle ground, and I don't feel balanced if I don't have it in the middle ground. Either way.
I agree.
There's that like, I think Emma Chamberlain said it, not to name drop, but where it's kind of like when you're taking all this rest and you're not doing anything, but you still cannot find like any kind of like energy to go and do anything. And it's because when you're resting, if you're just sitting there thinking about all the things that you have to get done, you're not actually taking a break. Like mentally, you're still trying to be busy and trying to fill all these gaps. So I think especially in exam season, taking real genuine breaks where you aren't thinking about uni or all the things that you have to get done, I think that's one of the best ways to motivate yourself. Or at least for me, like if I am constantly thinking about assignments, you're going to burn out within a couple of days of doing assignments.
I think I did a bit of that in the beginning because I had a gap year, so then coming back to uni and having all of the work and all of the emails, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to like adjust to this. So at the beginning I struggled a bit because I was just so unsure of what was going on and how to cope with it. But then I've kind of implemented things this semester which has made it so much easier for me, like learning from my mistakes of not keeping up with things, or like asking other people how they're doing things as well, which I think is really important for like things like extra reading. Knowing what people are doing and what pages they're reading from a massive textbook can help you so much if you're just asking questions and asking the right people. And everyone will try to help you the best they can. So I think that's another thing, trying to reach out to people.
And I think uni especially, it's obviously very self-led and you have to do all of this alone. However, I think there's also, especially in terms, like when I have reached out to professors and I've been like, hey, can we have like designated kind of like meeting terms, whether that's just during their office hours, where I can go in, talk for 5 minutes about what I'm up to and then continue on. That's worked quite well, especially with essays, because I know, especially having ADHD, self-led is terrifying because you don't have that like structure, even though structure can be very terrifying on the opposite end. Coming to uni for me was like freedom. Oh my gosh, how do I do anything? So just reaching out to both professors and kind of teachers' assistants, being like, can I just bounce my ideas off of you just so I'm self-regulated? And I also think it adds that, like, if I know that I'm going to have a meeting with the teacher, I want to come in with stuff prepared for that. Which is just, again, another general life hack of keeping that motivation on if it can be hard to find that self-discipline, because that's always been the hardest thing for me.
Definitely.
So talking about this, we've talked about how we motivate ourselves. Do you consider yourself good at it? Because I think for me, no. I know exactly the things I need to be doing, of like how I can get into it, of like building the momentum to keep the ball rolling. It just is sometimes I just don't want to do it, which is, not always beneficial. But I think that's a very real uni student thing. Like it's a hard thing to go to any school. But especially one that can be so academically rigorous, it's hard. And then it's having like jobs outside of it and also extracurriculars. Like, sometimes I just don't want to do anything.
I'm the same. I think it depends. If I enjoy something, I'm so much better at motivating myself to do it. So like if there's a module I particularly enjoy, I'll get all of that stuff done first, and then I'll leave the stuff I don't like till last minute, and then it kind of builds up a bit. So that's something I'm still working on, getting better at. But I think overall this semester I've definitely improved just from trying out new things and different techniques to motivate yourself and be more disciplined, I guess.
Well, it was Mother's Day at the weekend, and I went and saw, my mum went and saw me, and I will say she gave me a boost. I think family and friends and people that you feel close to can give you that boost, because I think I needed it. I think we're in the March now, we're getting to a middle point of the term. I think everyone's feeling a little bit of burnout on a bit of a continuum, and it did help. She was just like, you've got this, you can do this, just try a little bit more. You got 2 essays, because every 6 to 8 weeks you always have a few things to give in, and then you have a bit of a break, and then again we've got our exams towards May. So I think reaching out to people that you just feel closer to and speaking to them, I think we get trapped in our world. You go to your lectures, you see your friends, you live with your flatmates, you have your job, your extracurricular, you get wrapped up in your own life, and then you can get consumed by your own thoughts. And sometimes speaking to somebody that's not part of your world and your circle to just help you be a bit more grounded, I think it does help me, like coming in and out of it sometimes and going back home does remind me why I'm at uni, what I want to get my degree for, and just provides me with that boost again that I had when I first joined when I was
Absolutely.
2 years ago.
Yeah. How did you find revision exams before coming to university? I thought they were going to be very, very different. And I don't know if that's like the jump into uni instead of, high school or college, or the fact that I'm American. But, in the U.S., you kind of have like things that you turn in for each class, like, I don't know, every day or once a week. So I thought it would kind of be this like consistent, they're going to be checking your stuff, making sure that you're kind of growing with the course. And again, it was a very self-led, natural assumption that you're keeping up with the things and reaching out personally if you're not understanding things. And then same with kind of the essay exams. I thought it would be more of like a collaborative process to work with people. But how majority of the modules I've taken is that they drop the questions about midway through the semester and then never bring it up until like the essay is due. So I just didn't, I guess, expect that to be such a, I mean, again, it's very self-led. And I think it can be awkward having to be the one to reach out. But I think learning to do that as early on as you can in university is quite important. That's like their job is to teach you, and I think I got quite nervous about that. But that's what they want to do, is to teach you.
Sometimes the professors look really intimidating, and you think, I can't email them or ask them questions, but most of them have discussion boards or Padlets or things like that where you can ask questions. So it does feel a bit intimidating, but I think once you start doing it, then it's just normal, and you can ask as many questions as you need to.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I was part of the COVID cohort, so I didn't actually sit any of my A-levels. So the last exams I've actually sat in person. I was about 16.
Oh my gosh.
So for me, it was really hard. I kind of took a gap year, so I came back and I was like, wow, like getting my mind around such volumes of work. And my sociology is very heavy books, a lot of reading, a lot of writing. So to go from not even sitting my A-levels and going through that vigorous writing, the jump to this, it was a really big jump. And I think what also is my subjects is so subjective. We usually work on a national curriculum, like everything gets moderated. There's always a criteria to work against. But with it being with uni, I think what shocked me the most is that it is a lot more subjective feedback that you get that is just based solely on your course with a small cohort of people that you have rather than everybody around the UK. So I think me adjusting to, rather than following the curriculum or like following, I know I need to write this because my teacher told me. It is very self-led in the sense of you have to write your own pattern. Teachers aren't going to give you an essay that was submitted a few years ago by a student to just like look at and just see, this is an example. You very much have to do it yourself, and you just learn from that. It's a learning curve.
Yeah.
From the feedback you get from your first year and your first exams, it really just is a learning curve, which did shock me a bit.
Yeah. I also think, well, in terms for me, like I study drama and film, and it was a very odd thing to go from like never studying it and kind of having my entire degree just be like an extracurricular course to then being graded on these things and having to like very in-depth kind of study whatever I was learning about. It was, I don't know, there's an interesting thing about taking something that you're very passionate about and now being graded on it. Don't know if you guys also experienced that, but I think just finding also times, especially during exam season, when I think it can be a very anxiety-inducing time about these things that you love and that you want to study and why you're here studying, now being graded, especially in terms of essays, like these topics that you're quite passionate about writing, now kind of having to send out into the world to be graded on your behalf can be quite a scary thing. So I think finding other ways to explore these passions during exam season is something that's really, I don't know, it's a weird one, but it can be quite helpful. Especially last semester, I directed a musical during exam season, which was very, very busy, but I think it gave me that kind of like other outlet of something that I can do and get up to.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I hadn't even thought about that as well.
It's just learning. It's, you know what it is? It's learning from your mistakes and saving yourself.
Yeah.
Because you know, I should do this work. I've got this time off. I've got this reading week. You've got Easter coming up. And it's known in the back of your mind, you want a break, but it's like having that perseveration to just let me just work now. Let me just do this work slowly and consistently throughout this break. And then I'm going to do the work in May. It's going to be a lot easier and I've got the whole summer off.
Yeah.
It's reminding yourself the reward is the summer off rather than rushing all the work, worrying that you didn't do very well. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to reset.
Yeah.
And it's just getting used to that mindset of work now and then have fun later on.
Yeah, I think you actually just cracked it. I think it is that of like, it's just learning. Like, it's learning how to be a better human and student, essentially, in uni, and also, you know, learning how to be better. Better person. Gosh, I guess I hadn't really thought, like, you're learning all these big things. Give yourself some credit, I think, as well. Like, you're doing a lot. Oh wow, that's so true.
And I also think a calendar app. I really, really love my calendar app.
Same. I've started doing it this semester and it saved me.
It really helps. It reminds me, because sometimes my mind, I just forget and I think, oh my gosh, I needed to be here and I completely forgot.
Yeah.
But investing in a calendar app, I think, is a really good tip to do.
Or a good notes app.
Yeah.
I'm a Notion personally.
Yeah,
I love Notion. But yeah, I guess general kind of wrap up, I think, if you're able to have that kind of jump start to exams, knowing what you're going to be quite passionate about, really focusing on that in the early stages, and then while exam season starts, taking break, giving yourself the time to actually take a genuine break, reminding yourself, like, you're still growing, you're still learning, but the reward's going to come. Well, we've had a wonderful time talking about studying and revising. Tune in again to Manchester Voices. We'll close today's show with a research story from the university and the city, as Manchester has been rated excellent by UNESCO as a creative city of literature. Manchester officially became a city of literature in 2017, and this rating has been described as a unique achievement among the prestigious global group cities. The university themselves have played a central role in this as a key creative institution, with centers such as the Center for New Writing and the beautiful John Rylands Library. You can find out more about this on our news website. Thank you guys for tuning in. These are our voices. This is Manchester.
If you've got a topic you want us to discuss, drop us a message on Instagram at officialuom and mention Manchester Voices. Our jingle was created by student Maisie Illul.